Alright, here are my revamps of the LEGO Hero Factory Savage Planet villains. And I want to start this one off with Fangs. So, if you watched my worst Hero Factory sets list, you would know that I'm not a big fan of the original Fangs, mostly because of this. Like, I think that was unacceptably bad, so I went and just used a big armor piece, because it doesn't have the same gap issue. I went and removed these spears because they just look out of place and frankly make the set look worse. Just for the fun of it, I decided to replace the feet with beast feet and use the trans orange claws compared to the Paraka and I don't remember what the two-toed feet come from. Something I am pretty happy about is the fact that I was able to keep all three of the quasar spikes on top of his back. You know, and of course without that gap, because I just hate the way that gap looks. Next up is Raja. The original Raja set is fairly tiny, and I wanted to kind of keep that stature with this one. It's not much bigger than a 2.0 hero. It's only slightly taller because it's got a big head. One fairly sizable issue with the original is that it's supposed to be a gorilla, or a gorilla-esque animal, and you're supposed to be able to stand on its hind legs, but that doesn't look very good. That doesn't look finished. And in case you're wondering, this is how the set is supposed to be built. So I just took the opportunity and gave him giant gorilla proportions. I even used that Onua chest plate, just because I just had it lying around. And I think it turned out pretty good looking. Like that definitely looks more ape-ish. I also decided to bulk up the arms, so it's roughly proportioned the same as the original, just with the bigger size. The original has this kind of jaw functionality, and while this looks pretty good on the original, I decided to swap mine out for a little more bulk and some teeth, so it's a little more reminiscent of an actual gorilla, as kind of pictured here. And here we have Waspix. So with Waspix, I was really faced with two options. I could just take the original set and fix some issues I have with it, like this ball joint, as well as all the dark gray used in the set because it just stands out more than it needs to. And I'm not a big fan of these wings. I don't think they really look like wings. I could try taking the concept of the original and putting my own spin on it, or I can try something completely different, and that's kind of what I decided to do here. Instead of the humanoid wasp, I decided to make it, well, a wasp, using just a simple CCBS torso and one of the pieces introduced with Waspix. I'm really happy with these wings. I got them from a Ninjago set that I got on discount a couple of years ago. Something that I thought would be pretty important, and this is actually kind of a issue with the original, is the fact that the stinger can't really be used to sting things. Like, that's as far forward as it will go. So I decided to build mine in a way where you can easily push the stinger forward in kind of an aggressive attacking motion. Which I don't know why I thought that would be so important, but I'm happy with the way it turned out because it does look pretty natural to what I was going for. And here is Scorpio. The original Scorpio is a fine set, though it suffers from some flaws that are just kind of bizarre to me. There are two things I think of when I think of a Scorpion. Number one being the pincers, which are just completely absent from this set. These do not look like pincers at all. I don't know what's going on with that. So yeah, I went and gave mine pincers that you can open and shut. Not too well, but they get the job done. The second thing you think of is the tail, but the issue with the tail on this set is it can't go past the head. Like, this is the head taken as far back as it'll go, and the tail extended out as far as it'll go, and it just can't stab anything. Like, so yeah, I went and just kind of supersized my tail along with the rest of the figure, and yeah, now it can actually sting things in front of it. I also decided just to swap the red out for the trans neon green because I just like the way it looks a little more than the red on the original figure. I can't really explain why I think that, I just don't like it as much. And actually, a little known issue with the original set is that it's not really meant for shelf display because it's built in a way where it will eventually just sag to the ground, and out of that I just find that incredibly annoying. Someone just leaves this thing on a shelf and constantly like readjusting it. But the way I've built mine just makes it not suffer from that issue, so that's just kind of a nice little bonus. I wasn't even intentionally like trying to fix that issue. And here we have the big, the bad Witch Doctor. It's kind of a pain to move just because of how big this thing is. So I have annoyed a fair chunk of people by claiming that the original is LEGO's best construction figure, better than pretty much every Bionicle individual figure. The only figure that comes close to matching him in complexity is Toa Matanui, which isn't a very good set for reasons I'm not going to get into, and vehicle sets. The reason I think this figure is so good is just, for lack of a better term, its construction is absolute genius. A lot of Bionicle Titans are built in a way with support systems that leave a bunch of gaps and a bunch of weird openings on the sides of the figures, but with Witch Doctor's construction, it essentially just uses ball joints as extra friction. And this thing is just as, if not more, posable than Bionicle's Titans. But anyway, enough about that, let's get on to this guy. So, there's one big issue that I have with the original set, and it's the staff, because it is tiny. It is not well proportioned to a small figure, let alone a gigantic figure this size. So yeah, I went and rectified that, and instead of just giving him like a longer stick to use, I decided to go for a full-on like staff. One of my favorite details about the staff is the fact that I used a bunch of broken Toa Mata heads. That's just kind of set dressing because he is called Witch Doctor, so it kind of invokes some of that voodoo imagery, as well as the Toa Mata head. I used a piece of the transparent red armor for the eyes, which gives them this nice subtle glow, as well as using them in the torso to kind of indicate that he's got power surging through him. I went and swapped the hands out for the Takanuva 08 hands, because I thought their scale fit this figure pretty well, and a flaw with the original is the forearm and the tiny hand. It's not really an issue on his left hand, but it is an issue on his right. I'm also pretty happy with the leg construction. It's a completely custom design, but it can bend pretty well. It can get around a 90-degree angle, not quite there, but it can get close enough, which is good enough for a figure of this size. Yeah, I'm just really happy with the way this figure turned out. One of my favorites that I've done. And just as a cute little bonus, here is a, I guess, miniature witch doctor model. This guy was made before I decided I was going to revamp the entirety of Hero Factory as a line. So I went for more of like a small mastermind look for Witch Doctor, and I decided to use the Hero Factory chest plate because in his story he betrayed the Hero Factory, and I kind of misremember that as him being a former hero. But I think it looks just fine. I just keep this guy around pretty much just for the novelty. Like, I think it's a pretty cute looking figure, and it just adds a little extra pop to my Savage Planet collection. And that's it for my Savage Planet revamp collection. Stay tuned till next time when I cover not the breakout heroes, because I've already done the breakout heroes, but the breakout villains, which are probably some of my favorites. So yeah, until next time, take care.